Yeah, and then we need to see it now. This is the ownership here, part 3 of personal rig update. Fathersday Britain. Let me get rid of this. I did actually post some funny stuff on Discord. With and yeah, it was pretty fucking funny. 128 gigs of RAM. Is that a joke? And, well, unfortunately not. And I had it laying around. Had a good conversation with those people, even though I'm like, wow, they're still not educated enough. But doesn't mean they're assholes or whatever. On the PC Security channel Discord, if you want to take a look at, maybe join that server. It's always good to have more people. It could actually also help. But yeah, since yesterday was Father's Day, I actually told him already, and I also got some parts list here with some extensions and maybe that case, but I found a problem. Since this doesn't go deeper, it might be that a longer card clashes with that fan. That could mean I have to take this out and looking kind of a bit dumb, even though I wanted to make it some sort of showpiece. Even though cards have changed, the 1080 Ti isn't a smart card either. So I have thought about that as well. Because and some standard keyboard, I mean that's nothing. Even though it might be that case. Oh, the new frame, I mean seriously, it's pretty nice. Oh, I hope you can elevate that like at an angle. I'm not sure anymore. Watch Gamers Nexus video for that review on that case, but I can't recall. We need one of those. We're not using Wi-Fi. Ethernet, that's unnecessary. I have checked that SSD. Well, it's not the best though. Yeah, it has no DRAM cache and shit like that. That's pretty cool though. Yeah, the controller is something. It's not bad, especially with quad channel RAM. It's a lot better than, yeah, well, dual channel RAM. When it uses the RAM, that's because host memory buffers uses a portion of your RAM, your system RAM. So it could go a little further. And that power supply, that's fine, 750. Not gonna require more. I know that the CPU could draw upwards of 300 watts, the GPU could draw up to 300 watts, but we're not gonna do that anyway. I'll limit that CPU. And that's really only if you benchmark or do heavy shit, which he never will be. And it's probably gonna limit it at 120 watts all times, but spikes up to 150. And the graphics card will get cleaned, and I will make it a little bit slower, because even though a 1080 Ti might be still nice, but you gotta be making note and realize that it is a 7+ year old card. It had tons of usage on it. I don't know when this shit dies. So I make it a little bit slower to the point where it doesn't matter. But for the card itself, functionality, physical, would matter. So yeah, this is gonna be a power supply. The cheapest reasonable power supply. I've got the 1200 watt version. Has been solid as a rock. Of course, the Tough Power series is pretty nice. Yeah, that's some shit of mine. Maybe I haven't shown you that, guys, yet. That's the... Well, maybe I did in the first video. I even said no to this CPU and keeping my 127K for a while. And, you know what I did? I could then... Where's that fucking run? You're kidding me. There it is. And I use that one that's in that system. Yeah, it's just 4000 mega transfers. That's because the board is so bad it doesn't run anything but 4000. It doesn't run 5600 like the name suggests, but it's gonna be getting taken out of here. Plus the fucking board, which sucks. And I will use that board with it. It's just my lovely recommendation board. Which has DDR4, and I take half of that 256 gig RAM kit out because those people did not know. Well, it's gonna be 192 gigs again. So it will be. Let's get that shit off here. So P760, that's completely fine. I'm not overclocking, as you guys know. Only if I have to. Or I see gains, but otherwise I see real gains, not BP fucks. Childish shit like 5 to 10%. You tell me 5%. So 1520 is more, but still. If it's a 30-40% uplift of performance, overclocking is just it. So 14 chain, we will never put one in. The max would be a 12900K if at all. I don't know. More cores makes always sense. But 128 gigs of RAM. That would be better than 64 gigs of 4000 or 5600 megahertz versus 32 gigs DDR4, but 128 gigs because I like to play with mods. So that means it takes a lot of fucking RAM. Yeah, this used to be 10 euros about cheaper, but it's not. Okay. Still doesn't matter. That was the case I originally gonna get my dad. But then I settled for this because it's a bit of a showpiece. Why it's 80 years now? Used to be, wow, shit has changed by now. I don't even recall that. Oh well, who cares? Yeah, it's not the 285K. Why? Because the 285K out of stock. So realistically, it doesn't really matter. No. This will be a kick-ass machine. I'm using 2 GPUs again, but not this time because I have to give away one graphics card. So I take the 3070 out in my main PC. Which is the bottom card because the one on the top is a 4080. Put that out into my second PC and run that for a while until I get a 3080, 12 gig, 3080 Ti, something around that. Because more than that is a little bit silly, but the 8 gigs would drive me nuts. Even though the 1080 Ti is a bit slower than the 3070. But yeah, this was never really a fun upgrade, but I could have known that before I bought that. But that's when I listen to people who think, oh, you need more, don't need more than X and shit. Yeah, the 8 gigs of RAM drove me crazy and nuts. It's not just the GPU core, which is slow these days, but not for my second PC, what I do with it, it's fine. So I need a mouse, so and get another piece of niceness SSD for scratch drive, and you always need one of those because if you don't, you sweat bullets in this room. Yeah, that was the parts listing for now, and that was part 3, probably gonna be the last one. It's just a update, and my dad actually had a constant grin on him the whole day. This is a for real PC. Yeah, no, 128 gigs. I know this is totally fucking overkill, but if I have the parts laying around, surely I would not. I mean, that goes without saying. Which those people didn't really understand. I think he's trolling. No, but just because you guys don't know what to do with it doesn't mean I don't. You can already see that. I mean, that's also somehow used RAM. Because if that gets free, you know, shuffled free, you notice that. So upgrading me would not now directly benefit me, but indirectly. especially if I now play have shit some flakes in my mouth, tobacco flakes. If you have thousands of mods on City Skylines, it eats the crap it out. Probably with all that shit open and City Skylines, it probably takes 80-90 gigs. So don't tell me what I need and don't need. That sucks. Really, people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that this is anything crazy these days. 64 gigs. When it's for a lot of people, yeah. But a lot of people would, if they only look outside of their horizontal view, into the horizon, they would see that let's give a fuck, let's buy the best. Especially if you can afford it. I'm only talking to people who can afford this crap, and not against you if you just have less money. That's not what this is about. And yeah, I'm keeping that nice SSD still. It's even better now because it's not connected on a Gen 3 slot anymore. But yeah, love this machine. But yeah, we had 32 gigs. Is no a joke. It's not a joke, and going to 64 is noticeable. And it really is. It's not gonna double or triple your frame rates or something like that, but it's gonna be a little bit nicey. And people need to hear that. But that's not about this. It's about my dad PC. It will be sick. It will last him pretty much forever. And that's why even my dad could not need but use 128 gigs of RAM. That's the problem with people that they only refer to the word need. Yeah, you don't need a gaming computer. You can start with that and the conversation is over. It's always that fucking word need. I'm so over it. Don't buy what you need. Buy a grade or two over from what you actually need. Because if you're really being honest, if you really just buy, you said you need 32 gigs, you can do it with 16. But if you say you need 32, that means you're actively using 32 pretty much all the time. Not exactly, but you know what I mean. That means you already need to upgrade if you just buy what you need. That would imply that if you need 32 gigs, it's like not a single megabyte over 32 gigs and you're using 32 gigs constantly. That's what you need. If you had less, it would not function at all. But if you're already at that 32 gig limit, like this is, then you say, okay, to double it, go 64. And anyone who says it that doesn't change anything, that's not noticeable, hasn't used it. If people are like, no, this doesn't make sense to go 64, 32 is fully enough, it's just fine. Yeah, that's because you are not used to more than 32 gigs. Have you used 64? No, but I don't think it makes a difference. Why? That because you read Reddit comments and forum posts and watch other videos benchmarks, other YouTubers benchmarks basically. When you have no practical experience, you just have experience that a kid would have. It's just all theoretical. Theoretical bullshit. No practical experience because I had to get used to a 8 and 14 core every single day. Back and forth, and that was a 7820 and a 10940. And people are like, okay, that's the same core architecture and stuff. Yeah, there's some truth to that all X299 are pretty much the same chips. Right at 7th, 9th, or 10th gen. I know. It's not entirely true, but anyway. But why? If the most differentiating or only real differentiating factor was the amount of cores on the new chip, why did Call of Duty Cold War not really run at all on the 7020 with a 3070? But on the 10940X it did wonderfully. It way over 200 FPS at 1600p ultra wide, max settings. Probably you guys would even dream to get that. I know. It's amazing. I'm grateful to even have that. But you need a beastly of a computer to do that. You're not just building a cheap ass machine with a B board and like I got a 12700K and just put a 4080 in it. It would be trash. It would be trash, especially with that 64 gigs of RAM. If I start Call of Duty now, it's gonna be a little bit horrible. If I had 128 or 96, let's say now, that would work tremendously better. Even if Call of Duty is not actively using, it might be like there. And that doesn't show up in benchmarks. But anyway, people just don't only think in FPS rather than have the freaking sense about anything. But that's what I'm going to build my dad. A little bit of a showpiece PC. He can stare at it all day long. I don't know. Throughout this video, I didn't light my cigarette, man. Yeah. But anyway, it's gonna be fucking sick. I mean, aren't you grateful for me too? I mean, seriously, guys, you would build your dad a machine if you can now, if you could. But it's a nice server here. Pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it for me now. Until next time, peace out, you Tiona Shepina.